This is a very profound and spiritual subject matter based on the dialogue between Yagyavalkya and Maitreyi. Among the learned women mentioned in the mythological texts, Maitreyi's name is taken with great respect because she renounced all worldly pleasures for the sake of attaining knowledge. The story of the two wives of Maharishi Devavrata's son, Maharishi Yagyavalkya, is found in the fourth Brahmana of the fourth chapter of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Here, the intent of the story in the Upanishad is not merely to tell a tale, because there is very little space for stories in the Upanishads. Knowledge has been given paramount importance there. Through this story from the life of Maharishi Yagyavalkya, the Upanishad discusses the self, or Atman. In this narrative, Yagyavalkya has a detailed and deep discussion with his wife Maitreyi on the question of the self. I am attempting to present the essence of that discussion here. The story unfolds as follows. Maharishi Yagyavalkya was an extremely learned person in the Vedic age. He was a knower of Brahman, or Brahmagnani. He had two wives. The first wife was Katyayani, daughter of Rishi Bharadwaja, and the second was Maitreyi, daughter of Rishi Mitra. Katyayani was like ordinary women. She remained busy with household affairs. Her interest was mainly in worldly enjoyments. She was lost in delicious food, beautiful clothes, and various types of jewelry. Despite being the wife of a famous Maharishi like Yagyavalkya, she showed no attraction to dharma, or righteous conduct. She was completely fascinated by her own world. Maitreyi, however, engaged in every religious work with her husband. She found joy in helping him in all his rituals and making every necessary item available. She had a deep interest in spirituality, and due to spending more time with her husband, had a deep insight into the spiritual world. She often listened to Maharishi Yagyavalkya's sermons, assisted in his religious activities, and remained engaged in contemplation herself. She had an intense curiosity to know the truth. Rishi Yagyavalkya was a fierce proponent of the philosophy that while accepting this world as illusory, or mithya, he did not reject it entirely. He accepted the existence of the world on a practical level. One day, Yagyavalkya felt that it was time for him to leave the householder stage, or grihastha ashrama, and move on to the stage of forest dweller, or vanaprastha. He called both his wives nearby him and said, "Oh, my dear spouses, I am renouncing the householder life and taking sannyasa, or renunciation. I want there to be no dispute between the two of you after I leave. Therefore, I wish to divide all my wealth and possessions in the house equally between the two of you." Katyayani immediately agreed, but Maitreyi began to wonder what object could be more valuable than the even householder life, and which the Maharishi was renouncing his household to attain. She said, "Lord, is the state you are striving to attain by renouncing the household more valuable than this householder life?" The Maharishi replied, "Maitreyi, that is immortality. This world is perishable. Its joy is momentary. That is permanent bliss. It is in the search of that bliss that I wish to spend the rest of my life." Maitreyi again said, "Lord, if this entire earth full of wealth and grain were given to me, would death forsake me? Would I become immortal?" Maharishi Yagyavalkya said, "Dear Maitreyi, wealth can only procure worldly items. It is merely a means for fulfilling physical needs, luxury, and material opulence. It has no connection with immortality." Then Maitreyi said, "If that is the case, why are you tempting me with this? I have no need of it. Please instruct me in that element, or tattva, by which I may obtain permanent happiness, know that which once known leaves nothing else to be known, and be freed from this cycle of coming and going, or samsara, to become immortal forever. Maharishi Yagyavalkya was extremely delighted to know his wife's genuine quest for the truth, and said, "I never thought you would ask me such a profound question, that too when I am leaving immense property for you, giving you heaps of wealth." And praising his wife, he said, "O Maitreyi, seeing this true dedication of yours, I was pleased with you and loved you before, but hearing your words now, I am even more immensely pleased with you. Come, sit close to me. I will give you that knowledge which will truly be the salvation of yourself, and you will be free of the illusion and attachment of the world forever. Maitreyi, now I will reveal the secret of all these matters to you. Listen to me carefully. I will tell you the solution to this great problem you have placed before me." After this, he initiated Maitreyi in Brahma Vidya, or knowledge of Brahman. Brahma Vidya is the knowledge of the complete self, also known as the Supreme Self, the soul, pure intellect, and consciousness. This knowledge alone is the path to liberation. Saying this much, Maharishi Yagyavalkya explains the great truth of what the self and the supreme element are. Why does one being love another being? O Maitreyi, a husband is not loved for the sake of the husband, but for the sake of the self is he loved. A wife is not loved for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self is she loved. Similarly, a son, wealth, a Brahman, a Kshatriya, the worlds, the gods, or beings, are not loved for the sake of each of them, but for the sake of the self are they loved. O Maitreyi, the self must be realized, it must be heard, contemplated, and meditated upon. By the realization of the self, O dear one, through hearing, contemplation, and meditation, all this is known. Maharishi Yagyavalkya says, Maitreyi, a husband should not love his wife simply because that wife is dear to him, nor should a wife love her husband simply because that husband is dear to her. Rather, when loving the other being, the husband or the wife, or any person, should keep in mind that the Supreme Self resides in the heart of this other being. Such is a profound experience in which all children, wealth, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, all worlds, deities, and all creatures become dear to us, because we experience the Supreme Self within them, and for no other reason. Therefore, our love for other objects is secondary, because they contribute to the happiness of the self, and only our love for the self is primary. That Supreme Self resides in every living and non-living thing. Therefore, because of love for that Supreme Self, we should love any living or non-living thing. This should be the only reason for loving. Otherwise, any other reason for which we love or are attached to material objects is not appropriate for us, because that cannot take us anywhere, whereas loving material objects while acknowledging God can lead us to God. Here, Yagyavalkya clarifies that to love someone is not to be attached to them, or moha. Rather, knowing the Supreme Self and expressing respect for that person or object is love for them, whereas if attachment is to be placed on objects, it should only be placed on God, because that attachment can grant us liberation. Any other attachment will only lead us towards sin. Maharishi Yagyavalkya explains that the self is an absolutely powerful force, and hatred is a demonic force. If we love anything, any person, any object, knowing that the Supreme Self dwells within it, then our life and the entire life on this earth will be happy. Whereas if there is a feeling of hatred in our mind, it summons demonic power and strengthens demonic forces in the world. He says that the person who sees the Supreme Self everywhere is called happy, knowledgeable, or supremely wise, and the one who sees objects separately and distinguishes between mine and the others is called ignorant. After this, Maitreyi asks, how is the knowledge of one object derived from another? That is, how is this nature single-focused, and how can the knowledge of that one supreme element grant the knowledge of all objects? Essentially, Maitreyi here wants to know the fundamental meaning of Advaita, or non-dualism. Answering Maitreyi's question of how one object leads to the knowledge of another, Yagyavalkya says, when a drum is beaten, it sounds without distinction of specific notes, but they are included in the general sound of the drum, or the general sound produced by different kinds of strokes. Similarly, when a conch is blown, its various specific notes cannot be distinguished, but it sounds unified. The same applies to playing the veena. All notes are included in the sound produced by different types of playing. The beauty of the universe can also be seen in the various hues of colors as the flame of the fire dances. Similarly, from the breath of the Great Being, Mahapurusha, the infinite reality, the Supreme Self, the Ark, Sama, Yajus, Atharva, history, Puranas, arts, Upanishads, verses, sutras, explanations of mantras, commentaries, sacrifices, offerings, food, drink, this world and other worlds, and all other beings have manifested. Yagyavalkya explains that just as the ocean is the source, refuge of all waters by means of combination and unification, so is the skin the instrument for all kinds of touch, the nose for scent, the tongue for taste, the eyes for form, the ears for sound, the mind for resolute, the heart for knowledge, the hands for action, the generative organ for sensory pleasure, the organ for excretion, the feet for travel, and the speech for all conversation, for all Vedas. This is the sole base for all. In this state, the being rises above the five elements and experiences the continuous unity of consciousness without duality. Just as a lump of salt put into water dissolves in the water and cannot be picked up by the hand, but its taste is salty, so this great infinite reality is only vijnanagana, pure condensed intelligence. This self emerges as a separate entity and re-enters its cause upon destruction. After attaining the self, there remains no name, no consciousness. This is what I say, my dear. So said Yagyavalkya. Maitreyi asked once more, O Lord, you have confused me right here. To say that the self is only pure intellect, and after attaining the self, there remains no consciousness, is a contradiction that I fail to grasp. Yagyavalkya spoke again, O Maitreyi, I am not giving you instructions to confuse you. The existence of pure intellect and the subsequent lack of consciousness do not pertain to the same entity. Know that the self, or pure intellect, is imperishable and indivisible. Wherever there is duality, the senses regarding beings will be feeble and unable to make judgments, but the one who experiences the self, sees or experiences the omnipresent, unitary, universal consciousness in all life forms, thus destroying duality. Therefore, by what means is that knower, by whom this universe is known, to be known, and who else is to know him? Pure intellect cannot be considered ungraspable. It is infinite, undecaying, unattached to worldly objects or company, unbound, free from suffering, non-violent. This self which can be known is itself the means to know its goal. This is the practice for immortality. In this way, Maharishi Yagyavalkya imparted Brahmajnana to his learned wife Maitreyi. He explained that the self is the supreme element, and the fundamental basis of all love is also this self. Maitreyi, having received knowledge from her husband, attained God, and her mind was filled with permanent peace and bliss. Through this profound dialogue, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad makes us aware of the ultimate truth of Advaita, non-duality. The realization of the self is the only path to immortality and liberation. So friends, today's story ends here. How did you find this presentation? Do tell us in the comment box. Like our video for more such interesting and knowledgeable tales. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching and listening until the end. See you in the next video with the next presentation. Until then, stay tuned to our channel. Namaskar, Jai Mahakali.